Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi Leah. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. Welcome back. It's so good to have you here. So first of all, my usual disclaimer: this video is strictly for educational purposes. Please do not go searching out anybody that I talk about in this video. Don't send them any form of hate comment, threats, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So a sister took to her TikTok to tell us her experience on how she used to be whitewashed and she's no longer whitewashed. Very brief video. Let me just go right ahead and play her video.
There's nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the world who's also in a friend group with barely any other black women. There is this like no worse feeling, because when it hits you hard. And every weird little interaction that you just justified as being rude, turning out to be racism, makes you question your whole existence.
So yeah, when she made that video, a lot of people were replying. Some people were also talking about how they could relate. I'm just going to go right ahead and let's play some people's stitches and commentary to her video.
There is nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl.
I remember the episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Ashley came back home from school or whatever. She was like, "Mom, Dad, I'm gonna oppress you." Like Sis said, this isn't a villain origin story. But I know one neighbor show, two neighbors sure, and I've seen this a couple times growing up in life, right? I know a lot of y'all brothers and sisters who already know about your people be sitting up here talking about, oh, that's them token brothers and sisters. No. They don't know they tokens. Tokens know they tokens, and they like to be tokens. They don't know they tokens. There's a difference. We had to go back in the kitchen because the dog's a little bit too loud. Listen, I've seen this twice, right? One with an African-American sister that grew up in the suburbs, and she was always like the only melanated sister out of her whole friend group. The rest of her friend group was this color, right? The other one was an African sister. I saw when the light bulb went off, right? And tragically, the light bulb went off around the which one was that? Was it Eric Gardner, Michael Brown, or Trayvon? Ooh, there's been so many. Trayvon. Wow, that's a big batch of depression that just came over me, realizing how many of us that I can actually put these situations down by timelines based off when one of our brothers was slain in the streets. The story continues. I remember this one girl, African American sister. She was just like hanging out with her friends, and she was explaining the whole situation, and you could just see in their face they wasn't getting it, and that's when it clicked in her head, and it was like, oh, I'm not one of you. And I'm just sitting in the background, you never was, sister. You never was. Come back home. There's still time to save you. The African sister was more like there's a culture shock. Like there's a whole culture shock. I think she had this idea of what America was, and then when she got over here, it was just like, no, this was not the case at all. Now, me personally, I know everybody's situation is going to be different. I acknowledge that, so on and so forth. I've seen more sisters escape that false reality than I have brothers. Like I've seen sisters like, and it's like around their mid-20s for some reason, like a light bulb goes off or a switch just flips, and they're just like, you know what? This ain't my scene. I need to refine myself because this is just all wrong. It makes sense because in your mid-20s is when you really are finding yourself and understanding who you are as you want to be as an adult. So that makes sense. Don't get me wrong, I see some brothers come back too, but I've seen more brothers pretty much accept the BS sometimes also. But granted, I'm pretty sure that some out there that have seen the vice versa and so on and so forth, and I respect and understand that. I'm also going to be devil's advocate here and say up front, there's some sisters who never look back. Like, as y'all know, I only date sisters, whether they be from the Caribbean, the motherland, or here in good old America, right? However, and there's the asterisk besides this. If you a sister and you ain't got no other sisters as like your friends, as in all your friends are this color, I'm talking about ones who don't want to hang out with their siblings, their cousins, anything else like that. They barely talk to their parents. I don't care how fine you are, I really can't date you. But I know a bunch of y'all gonna say, Sam, that sounds a bit weird, bro. No, stop and think about this for 1 second. You have a sister of the African American community. All her friends are Caucasian, right? She don't associate with any other sisters on the planet. The planet. Except her mama on Christmas, that's it. And even then, it's some estranged relationship she never goes to explain about. Just to find out a couple months later that it was actually her to being a problem the whole time, and she really just don't like herself. That's what I'm getting at. That's exactly where I'm getting at. Y'all see what I'm getting at now. I gotta go. I got things to do. Catch y'all later. Bonnet off.
There is nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the world.
I would love to hear your story time about how you got whitewashed as a black girl, because I don't understand. Because how was this country built? It was built off racism. I don't give a hell what type of white people you hanging around. All white people know racism exists. And it's the fact that you never look within. You always look without. Like, you didn't go back and look up your own history. You let somebody else explain your whole history. That's like me telling you how you should run your life. What are you going to say? Oh, who are you to tell me to... Right, and who are they to try to tell you that your skin color was not oppressed? You're just now finding out about racism. I like to hear a story time about that, because that means you've been running from the truth your whole life. You look through the white people's lens, even though you're black. You can't do that. Just like white people can never look through the black people's lens because they're not black. It goes both ways. So for you to be hanging out with people that kept the truth from you, those are not your friends. Sorry.
There is nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the world.
Yeah, let's talk about this. So I grew up pretty much in honors classes my entire life, middle school, high school. And if you're aware of the achievement gap, you know that there weren't a lot of black people in those classes. Like, we low-key had to fight to be in those classes. I remember even growing up and having counselors just kind of like doubt my intellect about being in these honors classes. But then when I would be placed in basic classes, I would just be bored, and like the teachers would be like, I don't understand like why she's in this class. Like,
First of all, is it not funny that they would doubt her intellect and wonder why she's in those classes? Like, can't black people be geniuses? Can't they be extra smart? Like,
she's like too accelerated to be in this class. So I pretty much was an honors AP student my entire life, and because of that, a lot of my circles were white, because these classes had majority white people, and I was pretty much surrounded by white people my entire days. This led me to be in a lot of friend groups with majority white people. I played a lot of the majority white sports like lacrosse, field hockey. I was a swimmer, and yeah, all in all, I was around a lot of white people. Also, like in elementary school, I grew up in a very white area because we moved, and there was not many black people in my school. Like, there was probably like 3 black people, and not including me, and some of them were like mixed race. So like, I was pretty much the only black person. So being around these white people pretty much all my life, I also felt like I wasn't accepted by my black peers, or like I didn't really feel like I belonged, because I felt like, oh, I talk too white, or like I act too white, and you know, all of that. So I struggled with identity a lot growing up. Now in high school, I ended up like having a friend group of these girls, and it was like 4 of us, and I was the only black girl. They were all white, and they would definitely make it like known that I was not one of them. Like, I never felt fully accepted in this friend group. There would be times where like they would make little racist comments, like calling me little Bill, or like even saying the N-word with the hard R. And at the time, like, I was young, so I would kind of just like laugh that off. I didn't realize how like messed up that was at the time. And yeah, they would say like a lot of like racist things to me. And it's funny because these girls are now like performative activists on social media, and they're all super woke and whatever. Really? But anyways, I will never forget when one of the girls like had a sleepover at her house, and her mom was like we were all hanging out, and her mom basically made me leave and told me like I could not sleep over while the other 3 girls were able to sleep over. And I didn't understand at the time, but as I got older, I realized like that was like low-key racist. She didn't have any sort of excuse of why I couldn't sleep over. Like, there was more than enough room, and they were just like, oh, like we can't have you here. Like, and there would just be times where like they would invite like each other on like trips. Like, if one of the girls like parents was going to take them somewhere, it was like, when I was included, oh, there's not enough room, sorry, we can't, like, you know what I mean? But all of them were able to go, and I was always the one excluded. So yeah, I just wanted to comment on this, because this is like, I feel like this is something that a lot of black girls kind of go through, and it can feel kind of isolating too, because sometimes you might feel like alienated by black peers and not understood. But if you've grown up in a very like predominantly white area, or like around a lot of white people, you probably understand.
There is nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the
Girl, you hit the nail on the head. This was me. And then when I went to college, I decided to study slavery. Not a good idea. And half my family, not biologically, my father that I call is white. So half my family's white, half my family's black on both sides. Both of my parents interracially married, moved to white neighborhoods, and that was my experience. And then when I started studying slavery, I was probably in my 20s, like hated white people, like hated them. Because I was appalled. You don't learn this in, the white schools, like all this stuff. When you read like Frederick Douglass's book and, all of that. But then I had to just, there's a point in time where you're just like, okay, it's not everybody, not everybody's like that. Some people just don't know any better, that they are being that. It's not an intentional thing. And then others, they are being intentional. But you learn discernment. But yeah, there's this period of like now, we hate you. And I don't know, but that was a good post, because there's a lot of us that can resonate with that. And it's a very weird time when you're having to look at things from a different perspective than what you're accustomed to.
I had the same kind of reaction and change in orientation when I started researching about slavery and African American history. Not just African American history, basically slavery all over the world and colonialism and stuff like that. You cannot learn that information as a black person and not have a different perspective on how you view non-blacks, because I won't say just white people. It wasn't only white people that enslaved black people, right? Let's go ahead and listen to another reaction.
nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the world.
This is also true for black dudes growing up around a lot of white boys, and you can actually kind of see it when you look at people like Kai Cenat and I Show Speed, who, I'm not taking away from their blackness, but you do often see that they have a lot of racist white fans, and you have I had a lot of racist white friends growing up, and it was kind of something that I had to just sort of deal with if I wanted friends. There was a lot of black jokes I had to deal with. Anytime the lights would go out, they'd be like, "Vic, smile. We can't see you." And then I just had to deal with that for a long time until when I was in my 20s, I started looking back at a lot of my friendships growing up, and I was like, "Oh, you're just a fucking racist, aren't you? You're just a bad person who likes to make black people feel bad and then act like it's all love." Neighborhood as the only black kid.
It's nothing worse than a whitewashed black girl realizing all the racism in the world.
Baby sister, I've seen your video be stitched many times. Many. And every time I see a stitch of your video, I am hoping that someone is going to give you the truth in love. And I haven't seen that yet. I'm sure it's out there, but I haven't seen it. So I'm your big sis. I'm going to give you the truth. And the truth is this: you're too old for this. You really are. You are entirely too old for this. Now, if you were a 13-year-old little black girl, I could see this, because 13-year-old little black girls are constantly thrusted into violent, anti-black, majority white spaces, and that is hard to navigate. If you were 18, I could see it, because at 18 you're legally an adult, but in all other ways you're still a child. And the biggest hurdle that you're facing at 18 is learning to break free and create your own environments, your own spaces. I'm not going to even give you a pass because you're a black woman in what seems to be corporate America. Many of us live that life. I code switch with the best of them. But do you know what I do? When I leave work, I come right on to my black ass home. You are in a position where you can create the environment that you want to be in. And if you are one of the few black women in a majority white woman space that has been violent to you, you are in that space still because of your choosing. You are choosing this space at this point in your life. You are not foreign to us. You never have been. You never have been. We've always been your people. But for whatever story goes behind this video has made you feel like you're foreign. To call yourself whitewashed, you move like that. And if you move like that, then we other black women will code you as foreign. But again, that's on you. That is a you problem. So if you want safer, blacker spaces, you need to get off your black ass and do the work. Unpack your shit. Because right now you're your own worst enemy. So anytime you're ready, come on back to the house. We've always been here. We've never rejected you. And we won't. You've been busy rejecting yourself. And you're too old to be on this app whining about a space that you can walk away from. Now I'm saying all of this black woman to black woman in black love. And I hope you process it, because you do deserve blacker, safer spaces. We all do. But again, you're an adult. It's your responsibility to find them and foster them. I hope you have a beautiful black ass day. From the bottom of my black heart.
Every weird little interaction that you just justified as being rude, turning out to be racist.
And sister, you're not alone. It's us brothers too, who, when we finally have our canon event and we realize that all the people that were in our circle were fucking racist all along, it's terrible.
Realizing all the racism in the
I just want to say that I am 4 years removed from whitewashed black girlness, and 1 year into my walks, yes, I went all the way there. Black power spectrum. You will get through it. Some of your white friends will stay there. Most of them will leave because they were Trump supporters behind your back and you really didn't know it, but you knew it now. But keep going. We got this. We got this. I mean, it's rough out here. It's like your whole world shatters and then gets reorganized and arranged with way more love. So it gets better. Just keep going.
When it comes to this topic of being whitewashed as a black person, I think people tend to look at it from the angle of, oh, you didn't want to be a part of us black people, you rejected your own people, you preferred to associate with white people. But sometimes we also have to acknowledge that it might not have happened by choice. In some cases, it was probably because of proximity, just like some of the people that narrated their stories. They were born and raised in environments where they were, predominantly white people. They didn't have a lot of black people. So definitely you have to make friends somehow, right? And then you end up being with white people. And then when you are friends with these white people for so long, you tend to pick up some of their characteristics, their mannerisms, and then you begin to feel like an outcast within the black community, like you can't fit in with the black people. And it just goes on and on until you get your moment of rude awakening. And yeah, I think for every whitewashed person, except you decide to not see it, at a certain age, there's just something is just going to happen that's going to trigger your rude awakening for you to understand that, okay, in as much as I might be friends with these people, we're not the same, we don't face the same struggles, we don't navigate through life the same way, people are not going to perceive us the same way, we might not have the same experience of life, and that is going to make you have a rethink of the whole thing. And then you now begin to question things that these people have done to you, and you now be like, did they do that to me because they were just being rude, or did they do that because I'm a black person? So I cannot even imagine the crisis, the emotional and mental crisis they go through when they are hit with that reality that, okay, I'm a black person, these people are white. Even though we're friends, it will never be 100% because we're just different. Like, I believe the basis of any friendship or relationship is, the things you have in common. So when your race is different, when your culture is different, when your skin is different, especially in a society like America where everything is built on racism, there's just a level to the kind of friendship you can have with someone who's not of your race. There's a level to the amount of understanding you can have with someone who's not your race. So And I think like we as black people have to be willing to receive them with open arms when they realize this, because there will always be people that will come to this realization, and they shouldn't feel scared to try to discover their blackness and then get back to the black community and build relationships with black people. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this topic. Can you relate? What do you think about the whitewashed people, the Oreos in quotes, in the black community? Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe also if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.